Hello everybody and welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. Please excuse the very windswept hair. I just got back from a lovely walk along the lake. It has been such a nice day today. It's about 66 degrees and sunny, a bit of a breeze, kind of a lot of a breeze. But I went for a nice walk, got to see lots of adorable dogs, and it was just a great way to kind of close out a very busy work day. But I figured that I am long overdue for starting this reading vlog. I usually start my reading vlogs over the weekend. It is Wednesday, so definitely running a little bit late. But I am so pumped about my reading plans for this week. So this is Valentine's week. Tyler and I went out for Valentine's Day yesterday. We got a lovely meal together, and it was just, first of all, a blessing that we had the evening off together, which is not super common. Second of all, just so nice to do something a little special, go out. So that was just a great way to start the week out. But in terms of my reading plans, I told myself that I really wanted to read, something a little bit Valentine's-y. And I was looking through romances and I just didn't find anything that I was really super excited about. So I got to thinking, what are the greatest love stories of all time? And I came up with Titanic. I was one of those people in high school who was very obsessed with Titanic, would watch the movies, would read about it, was just so intrigued by all of it. And I figured that since it is this year the 25th anniversary of the film and it's Valentine's week, that it would be the perfect way to relive Titanic a little bit, relive some of the stories surrounding it, and maybe rewatch the movie as well. So I picked up 2 books from the library. Both are a little bit of a different kind of take on the Titanic story. So the first one is called Titanic First Accounts. And this story is all about the accounts that we have from the passengers on the Titanic. I think it has everything from the first class passengers and the most wealthy people on board to maybe people working on the ship. And I'm just really curious to read some of the first-hand stories. This isn't too long, and it looks like it's split up pretty nicely into different stories, different accounts. So I think this will be really interesting. And then for my fiction pick, I decided to go with A Brilliant Night of Stars and Ice. And so this is also quite a short book. It is only just 300 pages. And it is told in 2 parts. The first part is from the captain of one of the ships that was called to rescue passengers from the Titanic. And the other part of the story is told by a third-class passenger who is desperately trying to get off the ship. I've heard really, really good things about this one and never read it, so I was very curious to see what the hype was about and see if I would enjoy it. So these are the reading plans for the week for a very Titanic-themed romance Valentine's week. So let me know if you've read any of these. But with that, Tyler is making some ravioli for dinner, so I'm going to put on some comfy PJs and go eat some dinner and do a bit of reading on the couch to finish out what has been a very relaxing evening. I am in some PJs, so I'm much more comfortable now, and my book of the month actually just came in the mail, so I wanted to open it and see what I picked. I think I remember, but it has been a while since I ordered it. I think delivery was a little bit behind this month because they had a lot of people pick the same book, which just so happened to be the one that I picked. So that's why it's coming later in the month. Oh yeah, I love the cover of this one. So this is Ma'am. So it says, "It's fair to say that Maddie's life in London is far from rewarding. With a mother who spends most of her time in Ghana, yet still somehow manages to be overbearing, Maddie is primary caretaker for her father, who suffers from advanced stage Parkinson's. At work, her boss is a nightmare, and Maddie is tired of always being the only Black person in every meeting." Ooh, this sounds interesting. I've heard that this has been getting really, really good reviews, so I'm excited to pick this one up. Might be coming in a reading vlog very soon. Let me just take out my earbuds. So I was listening to some of the audiobook for Brilliant Night of Stars and Ice, and so far I am really enjoying it. So far in the Titanic plotline, we have met Kate Connolly and her group of friends who have just checked in and found their room in the third class cabin, and then we are also meeting the captain of the Carpathia, who seems to be a little bit threatened by the grandeur and the size and speed of Titanic. So he is just talking to some of his passengers who are like, you know, is this as good as Titanic? Maybe we'll go on Titanic for the next voyage. And so we've set up kind of the two plot lines, and so far I'm really intrigued. The chapters are short, which is nice, and I'm always a fan of, and I'm really enjoying the audiobook. So I think I might finish the rest of this one on audio. I also did read the first account in the First Accounts book. So the first story is from somebody who has made it onto one of the lifeboats, and they are paddling away from the ship and kind of watching the ship sink, and they're talking about the experience on Titanic, how they got on the lifeboat, and all of that. And one of the things that I liked so much about the first story was the kind of emotion of it, and the really vivid description of something that we don't really have a lot of descriptions of. It's the Lawrence Beesley's The Loss of the Titanic story. That was the first one. So anyways, I think the next story is going to be a bit longer and has some more parts to it. So we'll see if I can get to that one later tonight. But tonight, Tyler and I have our last trivia game before the trivia playoffs. We are in a good position to make the trivia playoffs this year. This again is the Zoom trivia that we do with Tyler's family. And while we did have 1 week where we wagered it all on the last question and lost, the other weeks we've done really well. And so this week we just need a solid performance to make it to the playoffs. Sorry if you can hear the West Wing in the background. So anyways, I'm just planning to do a bit more reading for the rest of the night and then do our trivia as well. What do the French do?
The French like to soak the end of their Twinkies in a fine Cabernet.
How is that, honey?
Delicious.
Alright, so trivia is done for the day, and we got a really good score this week as well. We were super happy with it. Our final question was list the presidents on Mount Rushmore from left to right as you are watching them. Tyler somehow knew, so go Tyler. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And Gilbert is just, enjoying the laundry rack. But with that, I think I'm going to head to bed. I'm going to continue reading my audiobook tomorrow and see where I get to. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, and I had quite a late night at work yesterday. It was about 10:30 before I got home. Just a busy day, lots going on. But I am officially off of work for the next 2 weeks for my vacation, and Tyler and I have very exciting plans, which I will talk about a little bit later in this video. But today is very much a get my life together day because I have a couple of things that I need to get done. First being I need to take my car into the shop because it's making this horrible rattling, whistling noise from the right side of the dash. I have talked to a couple of friends who are car people, and they both said that they thought something needed to be oiled. I don't know anything about cars, so I'm going to take it in. Hopefully it's going to be okay. It'll just be a couple hour situation. We'll be on the road, and then I got to go and pick up some stuff for this exciting trip that Tyler and I have planned. I do think I'm going to take Titanic First Accounts to read in the waiting room because these car things always take much longer than I think they're going to take. And it is also really gross outside. It's either raining or wintry mixing. So hopefully it doesn't mean all of our flights are going to get canceled for tomorrow. But I think it's going to be okay. I'm just going to hope that the roads are fine. I'm going to take all my stuff. I'm going to camp out in this car mechanic waiting room. It'll be a vibe. And I'll catch up with you guys after I'm done with some of my errands for the day. this week has just raced on by, and I have to get ready to go on our trip, and so I'm not going to have time to finish everything that I had hoped to read in this book, but I did want to wrap up everything that I did finish. With that said, the first thing I wanted to talk about was A Brilliant Night of Stars and Ice, which I ended up finishing yesterday. So this is a very different Titanic story from the Leonardo DiCaprio story that I think we are all quite used to. And the reason I say that, and why I think it's important to know that going into it, is that the structure of this is very different. So little of the story happens before the sinking of the Titanic. So much of it happens afterwards with the Carpathia and how the passengers get out when the Titanic is sinking itself. And so when I was first reading this, I felt really jarred when the Titanic started to sink, and I didn't feel like we knew any of the characters, and I felt that all the characters were quite two-dimensional. But I think as we moved on, and during the tragedy and after the tragedy happened, we got to kind of look into a few people's personalities more, and there was a bit more character development. There is one little part from the author's note that I think really sums up the general vibe of this book and how it's so different from the other Titanic stories we may have heard. And I think if this quote does appeal to you and if this intrigues you, then you will really end up enjoying this one. So it says, I was deeply inspired by the removal of class distinctions on the deck of the Carpathia. First-class Titanic passengers helped other passengers of lower stations. Carpathia passengers of all stations, high and low, assisted in caring for the sick and the weary and brought comfort to those who had lost loved ones. Survivors of every station attended the funeral service for the 4 men buried at sea. The tensions between Catholics and Protestants at the end of the 19th century and into the 20th century were significant in some parts of the world, and particularly in Ireland. 4 years after the sinking of the Titanic, the Easter Rising would take place in Dublin and the surrounding areas. 3 years after that, war would break out in Ireland between the groups, dividing Ireland into 2 countries, the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. That did not end the trouble between the 2 religions, though, and decades of strife lay ahead for the Irish. Knowing that history, I found it moving that on the Carpathia, services in both faiths were held for the men they buried, honoring each one with their respective religious beliefs. And then it goes on. I just think that there's a lot of different dynamics and a lot of different distinctions that were explored in here about the sinking of the Titanic and those that were lost and those that were saved. And I really, really enjoyed this book for that aspect. Overall, I ended up giving it a 3.5 stars. I thought it was a really fun, short, fast-paced read. Obviously very dark and tragic in its tone because, of course, of the subject material, but very enjoyable. So the book that unfortunately I'm not going to have time to finish all of in this vlog is Titanic First Accounts. I did get through the first couple of stories, and I really, really, really was enjoying this. This is the depictions, the stories that we have of the survivors from the Titanic, and it's their experiences on the night that the Titanic sunk. Some of them are very emotional in tone. Some of them, like the second story in here, is very matter of fact, I was by this boat at this time, and then I went here and I met these people, and this is what happened when I was in the water. I think there's a lot of different interesting stories in here. This is a book that I do plan on finishing, but it won't be in time for this vlog to go live because I'm going on vacation. We're leaving tomorrow, and I won't have time to edit everything. Anyways, you guys don't care. But I did really enjoy this. This is not going to be a book that I will be able to rate because it is nonfiction, it is people's stories, and there's no way that I could ever put a rating on that. But I do plan to finish this, and if you are interested in the sinking of the Titanic and the stories surrounding them and kind of the real what actually happened that night, I would highly recommend this. It was really, really excellent. So with that said, that is going to be it for my Titanic reading vlog. Gilbert looks super cute right now, if you can see him. And while I did not get to rewatch Titanic, I might do some of that on the flight tomorrow as we're going to vacation. I don't know if watching a shipwreck is going to stress me out while I'm on a plane. Or maybe I'll watch it when I get back from vacation. Anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this very rambly video. I hope you guys check out some of these books if you are interested. And with that, I will see you very soon for a very exciting reading vlog in Mexico. All right, see you guys soon. Bye.